Another thing is expectations will be given to you based on your race. So certain women will like, say, black men who aren't, like certain women who aren't black will like black men, but they'll like a specific kind. They want the tall, tatted up black guys rather than, you know.
Now, this is a title. How Your Race Affects Your Dating Life as a Man by Love Made Logical. I kind of said love weird, but let's keep it pushing.
Race matters. In dating, your race matters. In dating, at least. A study by the University of Chicago done in 2006 looked at multiple different traits of men, including height, facial attractiveness, and ethnicity, and attempted to give dollar values to each of these traits. So if you're 5 feet tall, you need $317,000 in additional income to be the equivalent of someone who's 5'11 and a half. I think it's hard to visualize these income amounts, though, and so for the sake of this video, we're going to be looking at height and ethnicity. So if you're an Asian man in the eyes of a white woman, the largest subtraction in the study,
God damn. Oh, shit.
Being about 5'3", which is 8.5 inches shorter than the baseline.
Wait. You're already losing me, bud. You're already losing me on this math. I'm not Asian, nigga. You got to start this shit over.
We can see that's the equivalent of being about...
Let me turn up the volume too. Your volume's low.
5'3", ethnicity. So if you're an Asian man in the eyes of a white woman, the largest subtraction in the study, we can see that's the equivalent of being about 5'3".
All right, okay. All right, so in this column is the various women. Additional income needed by Asian men, $247,000. What? That can't be right. $247,000. That's like being 5'3". Well, all right, let's keep this going. Maybe it'll make more sense as we progress.
Which is 8.5 inches shorter than the baseline, 5'11 and a half. And if we look at a lighter one, we can see that Hispanic men in the eyes of Asian women is considered to be about 5'10", which is, 1.5 inches.
Okay. All right. So
Shorter than the baseline. Now, I'm not going to take any of these exact figures because this study does use a smaller sample size, and I'm going to ignore them. But what we can take away is being an unfavorable ethnicity can be the equivalent of being approximately 2 to 9 inches shorter. So if you're a girl's favorable ethnicity and she likes your race, you're going to appear your regular height of, in this case, 6'3".
All right.
Whereas if you're her unfavorable ethnicity, in terms of your attractiveness, you're going to appear 5'6". Obviously,
well, 2 to 9 is crazy. Chopping this nigga down by how many inches is that? I mean, shit, that's 9 inches, bro. That's crazy.
You don't actually appear shorter, but in terms of your attractiveness, this is pretty easy to visualize. So what are people's actual preferences? Well,
I can tell you. Fucking everybody by majority likes to date within their race. I know. Somebody get me a Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you. I know.
When we look at a study from OkCupid done in 2014, we can see men's online dating preferences tend to be pretty neutral outside of their preferences for black women.
God damn. Well, that's racism for you.
Black men being the most neutral. We can see that Asian women tend to do...
Wow, look at that. Check this out. This makes sense to me. This makes sense to me right here. Let's switch this over. Check out what they saying about black men, right? The only group of people that black men seem to have a slight negative, attraction rate to are white women, which none against white women. Plenty of beautiful white women out there. I've most certainly spent time with some white women. But I think there's this propaganda going around trying to make it seem like black men are hungry for white women. When, at least according to this data, which, of course, he said it's being taken from a small sample size, but according to this data, white women actually fare the worst when black men are looking for a potential mate amongst black women, Asian women, and Latino women. So which makes sense to me. That's been what I've seen. That's been what I've experienced. You know what I'm saying? But all right, let's keep it pushing.
Do the best outside of their own race, although all women tend to do best with their own race.
Right, that makes
Now,
sense.
when we look at women's dating preferences, immediately you'll probably
shit.
notice women are a lot harsher. Asian women being the harshest in terms of racial preferences. All men tend to do, again, best with their own race, although with white men it's kind of close.
She's saying Asian women are the harshest. Black men and Latino men, they don't like that. They like Asian men and white men. I think that tracks from what I've seen out in the world, at least. Black women, yeah, this makes sense. They love black men. I could see a black chick being cool with a Latino dude. Not really feeling white men. Definitely not feeling Asian men. All right, Latino women. This is big cap right here. Harsh no for black men. Where the fuck do you live, nigga? You live on Mars? Shit, Latinas, they love niggas. What we talking about? Latino men, for sure. White men? I don't know, bro. I feel like, at least from what I've seen, Latinas, well, I guess it depends on what kind of Latinas we're talking about, right? If we're talking West Coast Latinas, if we're talking heavy Mexican influence, I'd say they go for a black dude over a white dude, from what I've seen. They would prefer another Latino guy, but in second place, from what I've seen, they go for a black dude over a white dude. Maybe, yeah, if you're looking at Cubans, if you're looking at maybe even Dominicans, I guess. Yeah, I guess they might go for a white dude. But even I used to live in Florida, bro. And I got family in New York. Even East Coast Latinas, I feel like they prefer a Latino. And then right under that is a smooth black dude. You know what I'm saying? A black dude with some sauce. You feel me? But hey, according to this OkCupid data, I guess that's the online dating shit, pans out a little differently.
White men tend to do just by far the best outside of their own race, with Asian men doing the worst outside of their own race.
Goddamn.
Now, these percentages you're looking at are match percentage increases and decreases, which probably don't mean much to you because I doubt you've used OkCupid. So what instead we're going to look at is inches. If we use the study I looked at earlier and convert these numbers over to inches, you can see approximately how much attraction is gained or lost based on your ethnicity across national averages. Some of you are probably thinking right now, what about me? I'm multiple. Well, we're going to cover that now. If you're a mixed guy who's a mix of black and white descent, and you meet a girl who's white and has the national average white woman preferences, which are white men are neutral and black men get a -6, then what we're going to do is take the two and add them together, or in this case, subtract, and divide it by 2 to find the average, which in this case would be -3, giving you a score of -3, meaning in her eyes you're losing about 3 inches of attractiveness due to your ethnicity. It's a pretty simple equation. You can do this for all of your ethnicities and every group you encounter, although remember, these are all averages. Just quickly, for those of you who don't think dating apps/sites data counts, 60% of people meet online nowadays, so it's super important how well you do on online dating. And 2, the attraction percentages on that OkCupid study perfectly line up with the most common interracial couples in America. Dating apps certainly are real life, even if they are a little bit of an exaggeration. So how do you use any of this to your advantage? Well, first of all, there's been a decrease in racial preference over the last, ever. And this means interracial relationships are only becoming more common. Despite this, though, every race will tend to do best with their own race.
That makes sense.
Especially Asian men and black men.
That makes sense.
Not really sure why, but this is what the data seems to bear out. Interracial dating is more common in major cities, and so I recommend if you're...
Yeah, well, I can't speak for Asian people, but I think the reason why black women, by and large, stick with black men is because black women are viewed through this negative, racist lens in the West. And I'm not even saying it's an active form of racism. There's just so much subliminal brainwashing of the population to devalue black women. They know that they are safest with black men, even though black men are also affected by this brainwashing. It's just that they're the least likely to allow that to influence how they end up treating these women. And that's just a product of hundreds of years of white supremacy. And I think with time, as time progresses, that will be resolved. It's going to take a long time, but it's getting there. It's getting there. You know what I'm saying? But hey, shit, they don't need nothing more than a black man. We the best, as they say. Who's they? Don't ask.
Struggling because of your ethnicity and you are in a small town, so say you're an Asian man in a town of all white people or black people or really any ethnicity, I would recommend getting to a city where people are going to have less harsh racial preferences and you'll do better. I will keep in mind, not all cities are the same and some cities will be better than others. So I want you to let your mind go blank for a second and imagine a situation. Imagine you're an Asian man deciding where to go to university, and you have two choices: University of Toronto in Toronto, Canada, and Queen's University in Kingston, Canada. Toronto is 43% white and 35% Asian. Queen's is 82% white and 12% Asian. Well, where do you decide to go, assuming you're looking to have a good dating life? Well, if you chose Queen's, you would be at a serious disadvantage. Why is this? Well, a large majority white population makes women feel a need to whitewash themselves to fit in. That will mean non-white women want to date white men to essentially fit into the culture of the city.
That makes sense.
As a bonus, you have very few Asian women, which are going to be the group you do the best with. And because non-white women want to date white men, you're probably not getting the same level of bonus as you would in other places. On top of that, white men, who are 82% of the population, are probably going to get a bonus because, again, non-white women want to date white men in cities where it's the majority. And
white men have the most assets. They have the most wealth. They are benefiting from hundreds of years of white supremacy. So if you're a race other than white, don't kid yourself for a minute that there is some kind of objective attractiveness superiority going on here. No, this is a cultural thing that is a result of history, is what it is. And hey, listen, man, shit, if you're in the winning group, if you have benefits working in your advantage, you know what I'm saying? Don't hate the player, hate the game. Do your thing. You feel me? But at the end of the day, your reality is dictated by your mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's not these numbers and statistics. If you allow shit like this to determine your reality, well, then you're living in a very disempowered state.
What makes it even worse is that 82% of the population are white women, where even if we use just the national averages, you're still getting minus 8 inches to your attractiveness from 82% of the population. Now, if we take a more multicultural city like Toronto, Asian women will feel less pressure to whitewash themselves to fit in because there's not even a majority. It's such a multicultural city and everyone appreciates their own culture within the city. Asian women will tend to appreciate men of their own culture. As a bonus, there's a large amount of Asian women, approximately 3 times as many per capita as in Kingston, which is going to be your most favorable matchup, even if you just get the national averages, which you may get even more than. Now, the other benefit of a diversity like Toronto is low social stigma around dating people outside of your own ethnicity. This will give, essentially, all races will give less of a debuff to Asian men. So in a more homogenous city, they'll give, say, the national averages of -8 to Asian men from every ethnicity. Whereas in a diverse city, because of reduced racial stereotypes, they've been around more Asian men, and there's less of a culture shock, it's going to fall to only, say, -4. These are all estimates, of course, and
that's crazy, bro.
I would take everything I say here with a little bit of a grain of salt, but these are, I've found to be generally true. So when choosing to move cities to improve your dating life, I would recommend looking for more of your own ethnicity, as it's just going to be the group you do statistically the best with, and look for cities without a majority ethnicity if it isn't your own ethnicity. So a couple examples. If you're Hispanic and you're choosing between a job in San Antonio and San Francisco, obviously you're going to want to choose San Antonio, as you have 4 times the Hispanic population, which means your race is the majority and the culture will be around fitting into your culture, as well as you just have 4 times the prospects of people you do the best with, meaning you're going to pick San Antonio. If you're Asian and you're choosing between, say you have 2 options for jobs, Seattle or New York, and you look and you see the Asian percentage is the same, approximately, then you're going to look at what the majority is, which the largest group in New York City is white people at only 31%, meaning there's no majority group. So there's no pressure to fit into any specific group. Whereas in Seattle, it's majority white, meaning most Asian women are going to try and date white men just to try and fit into white culture, because that's the culture of the city, and essentially there's a peer pressure to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does make sense. Look, everything he's saying makes sense. What in terms of how the numbers boil down. I'm just saying, you as an individual, don't allow yourself to be boxed in by numbers and shit like this. You know what I'm saying? You happen to life. Don't allow life to happen to you. You know, this kind of stuff, yeah, for the normies, for the NPCs, for the people who life just happens to them, for the people who feel disempowered and think that the fucking people in the government and their environment is what's dictating the course of their life. Yeah, this kind of shit rules their lives, and so it would be good for them to abide by it. And I'm not saying that you can't use this information to your advantage. Most certainly you can, because it is all statistically true. I'm just saying, don't allow numbers to discourage you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can find a partner anywhere. So you just go where you want to go. You feel me? And if you assume the state of a person who is in abundance in regards to love and relationships, the right person is going to find their way to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all you got to do is take a look at history, bro. Romeo and Juliet, that story has been playing out throughout cultures for all of time. 2 people who are never supposed to link by any means end up falling in love and falling for each other and riding and dying for each other. You know, that story has been playing out in every culture since the beginning of time.
Right? So this is going to make New York the option you want to go to rather than Seattle. Here's some anecdotal experiences I've had in terms of dating interracially and noticing people around me try and date interracially. And you can kind of ignore all of these if you want, because I don't have any more data, but I've found all of these to be true, so I wouldn't ignore them. The Eurocentric beauty standard does exist. White men are considered conventionally attractive, just across all ethnicities. And the main advantage of this is going to be with girls' social circles. So let's take 2 situations here. 1, you're a Hispanic man and a black woman likes you, right? These are all averages, exceptions exist. This black woman tends to like Latino men. Her friends, on the other hand, are another mix of races who don't necessarily like Latino men. Maybe some do, maybe some don't, but she's going to receive mixed feedback from her friends and not know if she should stick with this guy. Whereas if you're a white man and a black woman is attracted to you and she goes and talks to your friends, they're all going to think you're attractive, because white men tend to do the best across.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit right there. Well, for one, most black women have other black women in their circles, and you've already identified statistically that white men fear the least when it comes to black women finding, you know, the various groups of men attractive. White men do the worst with black women. And so with that being the case, her friend group is going to more than likely consists of some amount of black women who are going to be looking. Now, they may not hate on you, right? They may be supportive. Most friends are. Most friends, whether you're a man or a woman, I think most people, their friends aren't going to shit on whoever you're dating because it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard enough already for most people to find somebody that they like that's going to treat them well and all that. And so in 2025, I don't think most people have friends that are going to try and dissuade you from dating a person just based on something like their race. So I don't think that this is how this shit really plays out for black women, to be real.
Ethnicities, and because of that, she'll think she picked well, right? All of her friends.
If anything, I would imagine that a black woman dating a white man would feel more self-conscious dating a white man than any other race. You know what I'm saying? I would say first a white man, then an Asian man, then a Hispanic man, and then of course they would feel most comfortable. If they're concerned about what other people think, I think they would be most comfortable with a black man.
So you must be attractive, right? I do think this has the largest advantage in high school, though, where a girl is still dependent on her parents. And so if you're trying to date outside of your race in high school, it's going to be significantly easier if you're a white man because she knows that her parents are probably going to think you're attractive because you're white. And the opinion of her parents is obviously the most important opinion in her life at that point.
I don't even think they necessarily think you're attractive. Look, I think they're attractive men and women in all races. So there's that, right? Things like symmetry, things like, hair, where your hairline sits on your face, your jaw structure. We're talking about men here. Things like, the shape of your face, your height. All of these things across the board statistically work in your favor, regardless of what your skin color is, your hair texture is, the shape of your lips. And so I think those things are true across all races. I think what goes through the mind of a typical American middle-class suburban parent, when you see your daughter, regardless of whatever race your daughter is, when you see your daughter walk through the door with a white boyfriend, I think you're just going to make certain assumptions about the kid. He's probably coming from a family with some amount of wealth. And by wealth, I just mean assets that will be passed down from one generation to another. I don't mean that he's literally wealthy, like rich, but, his parents probably have a house that he's going to inherit, or there's something that he's going to be able to inherit from his parents that will benefit your daughter. You probably think that he's the least likely to be involved in any kind of crime or anything of that nature. Statistically, he's most likely going to be going to a college, a university, least likely to end up in prison, least likely to end up doing drugs, probably. I don't know. I would have to look into statistics for that. Because white boys, they love drugs just as much as anybody else from what, I've seen. But as a parent, these may be the thoughts you're having. You're thinking safe. You're thinking reliable. You're thinking money, assets. I think that's why most parents, regardless of whatever race they are, aren't going to be too upset with their daughter bringing home a white guy. Even better if he's good looking. You know what I'm saying? Let's flip it and make that person a black guy now. And let's say this is not a black girl. So an Asian girl, a white girl, a Hispanic girl brings home a black boyfriend. Well, I can imagine those parents thinking essentially the opposite of everything I just said. He's the least likely to go to university. He's the least likely to inherit any significant wealth from his parents. He's the most likely to go to prison. He's the most likely to be engaged in crime. And, he's the most likely to leave her as a single mother. Statistically, it's fucked up, but that's just how the statistics bear out. And so I think that more than whether or not they think he's physically attractive is really what is carrying the most weight in the eyes of the parent. And I think a lot of this also affects the way how women select their mates. Because, yeah, you'll have that white chick and she'll marry a white man. We reacted to that video. Was it today that video dropped where a white woman, married white woman, she cheats. She's a nurse and she cheated with a younger black coworker. Yeah, she probably never in a million years would have married a tall black dude with dreads. She married a white man, but then she's getting her cheeks clapped on the side by a black man. So it's not that these numbers reflect who women find attractive. A lot of times they reflect who they want to reproduce with. It's about assets. It's about security, So that's why I say don't let this shit discourage you regardless of your race, or give you too much encouragement depending on what your race is. You know what I'm saying? Just get yourself to the best version of yourself. Believe in yourself. Maintain a positive inner monologue in regards to your ability to attract a woman. And the right woman will show up in your life, bro. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what color she gonna be, though? I don't know. It don't matter.
Point, as she's completely dependent on them. Something to keep in mind, though, is I think EBS is largely mitigated if you're highly attractive. If you're very, very attractive, everyone can tell you're attractive and it doesn't really make a difference. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Racial stereotypes do exist. Certain groups are attributed certain qualities on average, and this will help them in short-term or long-term dating depending on the group. But the vice versa will also exist, which will tend to hurt certain groups in terms of short-term dating and hurt certain groups in terms of long-term dating. I don't have any evidence for this, but I've found this to be true, and I'm sure most
Yeah, this is essentially boiling down what I just said.
of you have too. Another thing is expectations will be given to you based on your race. So certain women will like, say, black men who aren't, like certain women who aren't black will like black men, but they'll like a specific kind. They want the tall, tatted up black guys rather than, the clean cut. And so even though she likes black men, she likes that kind of black man. If you don't fit that sexual archetype, she's probably not going to like you, even if she likes your ethnicity. Look for women who dress to match your ethnic style. So if I see a woman wearing this outfit...
Oh, that's a white girl right there. That's a white. The Uggs gave it all away. The Lululemons.
No matter what her ethnicity is, I assume she likes white guys, because she's dressing to try and fit into white culture, and she likely wants...
Facts. That's a good point, bro. That's a good point. If you had put some Jordans right here, some Jordan red and white Jordan 1s, some jeans with the rips in it, you know what I'm saying, a crop top. Yeah, you know she like niggas.
To be a part of that culture, which includes dating a white man. Whereas if I see a woman who looks like this, even though she's white and the national average is...
This ain't black. This is Mexican. She like Mexicans.
White men. She probably likes black guys.
Nah. She like Mexicans.
There's no evidence for this or way to back it up, but it's just likely true. And if you want the best chances, I would look to people's style to essentially have a better guess at if she's going to like you or not. Lastly, I want to point out again, these are all averages. Obviously, exceptions exist. Some Asian guys will like black girls, and some black girls will like Asian guys, and so on and so forth. Although I think these exceptions become more common if you're tall, jacked, and or handsome. I think you'll find a lot of women saying, I'm usually not into guys like you, or something like that if you're very handsome. But it is worth keeping in mind. I hope you guys found this valuable.
Well, that's that video, guys. You let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you agree or disagree with any of the points that he made or I made, especially where we may have disagreed? Or do you have any additional insights that were not communicated in this video? Please share that in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe, all of that.